Hey Gerald, can you hear me? Gonna give it a few minutes. We're a couple minutes early. Give everybody time to get in here. Hey Jamie. I'm just waiting, giving everybody a few minutes to get here. Gerald had to go feed her cows early so that she could be here. I got excited and took that picture and then realized I didn't put my Nuvo drops on there, but oh well. They're on there now. I'm not going on camera, guys, because I have not done my hair or my makeup. I worked till 4 a.m. Hey, Bonnie. Uh, and then I got up at 8 and I started working and reworking this file. And I finished it when I posted it. Oh, this one was a tough one. It was not an easy card to do. Not in Get Right. But now all the kinks are worked out, so it should be easier for you guys. I just hope we can keep it under wraps for a while before it gets shared and goes public. Give you guys something unique to play with through Mother's Day, at least, hopefully. I'm going to just go ahead and switch over to the project camera. So we'll already be there while people are coming in. We got about, I don't know, 9 or 10. Keeps going back and forth. Somebody may be refreshing. Yeah, I added some Nuvo drops to it on the front in the end because I didn't want to overdo it with the sentiment on this because I wanted to leave room to be able to see the sand traveling. So I wanted to keep the sentiment at a minimum. So I think that little band does it. Oh, that's cool, Debbie. Glad you could join us. Hi, Little Bean. That's Claudia. Okay. Hey, Claudia. We have a few more people coming in. Okay. This is a Patreon only file. And it's because so much work went into it and it was extremely difficult. And I wasted a lot of materials getting this card right. So, and it is unique. So I wanted to, hi Reba, I wanted to give my Patreon supporters something unique to get them through Mother's Day. Because as we all know, I can make these Patreon only files. There's always going to be somebody that shares outside. So it's going to get out eventually. But maybe we can keep it under wraps until through Mother's Day and give you guys something pretty and unique to give out before it hits everywhere else. And there's a little difficulty putting it together, so some people won't even go there. So that's going to help as well. But it's not as hard as it looks. On this one, I just, like I said, kept the sentiment to a minimum, and I just put a few Nuvo drops on there to decorate the front. And as you guys have seen on that other one that I did, as you rock it back and forth, the sand falls down to the bottom, while the second sand stays stationary. It's kind of hard to do this on camera and hold it up too, but you can see that it falls down, and then of course you can go back the other way and the sand will shift back and forth. Okay, so that's what we're going to make, and this is the same card that I did here. It's just this was the mock-up, and I was doing trial and error, what mediums worked, what didn't, and I have settled. This was another one that I was doing. This was the one that I just checked to make sure that it worked. So, and well, actually I did it a couple of different ways to see what was the easiest way to put the card together. And so this is what I've come up with to make it the easiest, least expensive way for you guys to do this card. 2 sand colors, that way you can buy 2 things of sand, and it's just the sand from Hobby Lobby. You get 1.5 pounds for $2.49, and it's more than enough. But you don't want to try to dump it into this card out of this. You want to put it in something small, or use a teaspoon, a baby spoon, a medicine spoon, something where you have some control. Okay, that's key. Hi, Princess. Is that Lisa or Disa? But you want to be able to control how much sand and the flow going in there. And I also came up with another trick. This one gave me a little bit of problem. This one I had leaking on because it was hard to do and keep everything inside while I put it together. But I came up with a solution for that. So without going any further on that, on this one I'm using this Anna Griffith Deluxe paper from Cricut. And I'm using the little rose one out of there. The little rose tone paper back here. So, and it's double-sided. It's solid on one side. You do want a heavy cardstock for this card for your base. This is the heavyweight cardstock 8.5 by 11 from Hobby Lobby. It's almost poster board like because this card is heavy. Once you get those layers on there, it's pretty heavy and you need that heavyweight support. So just keep that in mind when you're doing it. And you can save your pieces of foam, guys, if you want. But I am using this, and I got this at Hobby Lobby as well. It was like 89 cents. It's on sale all the time. I think I got it on sale. But it's the sticky back. And there's a reason why I bought the sticky back. Yes, 118 pound works, Bonnie, 110, 120, anything right there. Just, you can even use poster board. I mean, it's up to you. But it just needs to be a good heavy weight. Gina K, Stampin' Up. I love Cricut cardstock, don't get me wrong, but for a card like this, it's not sturdy enough for the base. It's great for layering panels, but it won't support the weight of this card. But the Silly Winks sticky back sheet of foam, you want this. You don't want to get the one that doesn't have the sticky back because it's going to hinder your assembly. Trust me. I tried 5 different ways. It will hinder it. So this is what you want to get, and I don't know what Michael's brand is, but they have it. If it does not cut through the backing like this, chances are you're not going to get a good clean cut. I can peel this out of there and it'll come out. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm going to pull some of this out so you can see. But can you see that edge right there? See how the very back part of it I had to tear? I don't know if it will focus on that. It shows if that happens. It will show. I'm just telling you, it shows. You can see it in places on this one. It will show up. Just those rough edges will show. So you want to make sure that you're cutting deep enough to cut through the backing. I thought about craft board, Debbie, but then you have the thing of putting the sticky on both sides. And when I get into showing you how it goes together, there might be a way to do it without interfering with your medium that goes in it. But if any sticky is left on the inside of these, your sand is going to stick to them. Or your beads is going to stick. I had that issue with this one, and I used glue. I don't know if you guys can see that. See how they're all stuck up on the sides here? That's not static electricity. They're actually stuck. So it's not a clean look. That was done with glue. And it was put together with one side of it being the Creative Station, Xyron. This one, it's not doing that. Some of it will stick from static, but you can flick it and it will move. Very little sticking. But as you see here, I don't know, it's hard to get that on camera where you guys can see it because the sand shifts. But see how it's all sticking up in here? And that's from using the Xyron on both sides. And it just didn't work. So this was, like I said, this is the easiest way that I could figure. I used my deep cut blade, and I used the foam, glitter foam setting under custom settings to get it to cut all the way through and make it clean so that I didn't have any hanging on. Now there's little pieces at the top and stuff, but that will rub off. I can pick those off. They won't show, but they're not sticky. In the file, let me switch over to Design Space so I can explain this portion to you guys. Right here in Design Space, I have added, my mouse is going crazy. I added a piece in here. This is this one. Maybe I didn't add it yet. Or there it is. This piece here is optional. Okay. And if you'll notice, this is your foam piece. If you'll notice, I contoured and took all the little areas out. And the reason being is because those spaces are so small, you don't need to put anything in there. And if the foam is there, your transparency is going to be stuck over the top of it, and it's just going to look like part of the card. It's not going to hurt anything at all. Let me come back over and show you guys. This one is the one that I posted. I did not cut out. I used the contoured piece and I left that solid. And it doesn't affect the look of the card at all. It even looks cleaner, in my honest opinion. This one is cut out and it's not as clean. You probably can't see it on camera, but up close and front personal, you can see it. I went ahead and cut this one out just to see if deep cut would do any better. And I ended up having to go in and clip and cut pieces out because it just didn't cut clean enough in those teeny tiny areas. And like I said, I used the glitter foam setting. I used my deep cut blade and I cut 2 times. I did not eject my mat. I cut it twice. So you'll want to remember those settings. Those settings may not work for you, and that was probably a little overkill because I did notice it cut into my mat a little bit. But with foam, it gave me the cleanest cut through the channel, and then I don't really care about these little areas, but I wanted this part clean, and it gave me the cleanest cut that way. So that's why I did that. Like I said, this, if you have to pull it out of there and tear it out, it's not going to cut well. I mean, it's not going to show well. But you can see you got all those at the bottom. The top is cut clean, but all the way through it is not. So that being said, I'm going to go back over the file, and we'll go over the file before I put it together and show you guys. Okay, like I said, you need either or out of foam. This is the one I prefer, the one that's listed as optional. It gives it just a little bit more steadiness, and you don't have to worry about this being clean. So that's that. Then you have yours, and your file does not have the thank you on it. Okay, you just have this strip. Put whatever sentiment you want on there, and then like I said, I added some Nuvo drops. You can do pearls. You can do several different things there. This, of course, is your face cover, and this piece will go on top of that. This pinky colored or gray colored, I don't know what color it's showing, that is your transparency. And don't worry about if it's perfect or whatever. When you're lining this up, doesn't matter because you can trim it off. And I'll show you that when we put it together. I mean, it's cut the same, but we all know when we put it together, sometimes we skew, we get off a little bit. There's room for play is basically what I'm trying to say. And then here is your back piece for this mechanism. We're just going to call this a mechanism. And this is a decorative piece here. And then you've got your panels, your layers right here, and your card base. You're just going to fold that card base and layer your panels. And what I did is I put my panels onto this piece after it was complete, and then put the whole thing on the card so I could keep it straight. So that being said, let's go ahead and put it together. I apologize, my dog. A cat came to the porch. They don't like that. That's enough. I'm sorry. They're very vocal. Yes, it's foam that has adhesive on the back. It's the Silly Winks from Hobby Lobby. I'm sure Michael's has a brand and Joann's has a brand. It says that this is 0.08 inch thickness, or 0.2 centimeters in thickness. If this is the key, guys. If you use sand, that's all you need. If you're going to use beads or something like that, you may have to have 2 thicknesses of this. But the problem when you start doubling that up and layering that up is your sand and stuff starts sticking to the in-between layers. So that's why I went with this and went with sand as the medium instead of the beading. I didn't have to have as much clearance. But Jamie did find some of the nail art beads that are similar to the toppings from Queen & Company. Those are small enough. They're almost just like sand. Hi, Sue. Sue's getting her hair done. So since we have all that covered, let's go ahead and put it together. And this is the way that I did it. You may have a way that works better for you, but after doing 3, 4, I think I did 5 total. I threw the others in the garbage. I was even embarrassed to show those. But this is the system that I found to work best for this card to make it the easiest for you. Put your front piece, your pretty side, down. And then place your glue. And guys, I did not glue this around each one of these. You don't need to. I just put a bead of glue down each side and across each end. because this is transparency is going here, and the cleaner you can keep your transparency, the better. And I did like a double line down the middle. Make sure your transparency is clean and just lay it on there. And then I just went through and kind of pushed any extra glue out to the edge rather than towards the middle, if that makes any sense to you guys. Because I don't want it to get into the windows. Art glitter glue will hold that. Okay, and then you're just going to, you don't want to have any on your hand and get it on you like I just did there. If you do, I don't know if you guys have one of these. It's a gum eraser or an adhesive eraser. It's by Xyron. That works wonders. And I'm just going to hold that up to the light and make sure I get all my sticky off. I have it on my fingers. Grab a baby wipe. You can also clean it off with a baby wipe while it's still wet. I think I did that on this side. I did. I don't know how I did that. But then you've got your cover piece. All right. And I'm just going to set that to the side. Now I have my foam. I am going to, I've cleaned it up. If you need to clean yours up at all, clean it up. And this is why I say, I'm just letting that dry where I got it from that baby wipe. If you get this brand, I don't know about other brands, this brand of sticky back foam, you can kind of reposition it. So if you peel, you can peel part of it, you can peel all of it. I just found it easier to peel it all at once. And then I worked with it. And what I mean is I just kind of placed it down, trying to line up. And don't worry if it hangs out the edge a little bit. Don't even worry about it, because like I said, it's kind of repositionable because you've got it on that transparency. So you've got something to work with. If it's if you're gluing, then you're kind of stuck at this point. But I'm just kind of lining it up and checking the front and making sure that nothing is showing through. And if it is, I'm just peeling it up and adjusting it, because this foam will stretch with you if you're not careful. But you're just going to work it on to the front where it looks good. And like I said, I prefer it, like, see how that is right there? All I'm going to do is pull that up and reposition it without even having to pull up the rest of it. I can still work with it. I'm just going to, I don't care if it's straight through here because I can trim it off, like I said, from the other side if it's sticking through. I just don't want it to show in the other areas. Off a little bit here. And just work with it and get it where it isn't showing. And if you have to, if you've got a little place or whatever, just give it a little snip off. It's not going to hurt anything. You just don't want to cut it too deep because you don't want your sand to run out. That looks pretty good. And I've got a little bit hanging off here, so I'm just going to take my scissors and just trim off the excess. You can use a X-Acto knife, whatever. I found the scissors work just as well. You don't want to cut your card front, just that foam. Just kind of clean it up. And then if your transparency is hanging out anywhere, you want to snip that off as well. Just get it good and clean. The main key is don't rush yourself on this card. If you're in a hurry, pick something else. And you can see in these little triangles here, I hope you can see, it just isn't clean. And that's why I said I prefer the one that's contoured those holes out. I'm just going to live with this one because of time purposes. I just wanted to show you guys the difference. Okay, now that portion is done. Once that's done, now it's time for the sand. Yeah, I do. I need that, Gerald. And the key to putting the sand in is, like I said, just go slow and do it easily. This is why I didn't do my glue or run it through my Xyron yet. Well, I did the other. And when I poured it, sometimes it would bounce or static electricity, and then it would stick. And I couldn't get it off. And then when I put it all together, then it leaked. So that's why there's nothing on this. Nothing at all. And in the 5 spaces, you're just going to put a little bit of sand. And you want to try to get them as even as possible, but you don't want to fill it completely up. Got a little too much in that one, but I'm going to live with it. See if I can get some of that out. You have a little wiggle room with doing it this way because it's not going to stick to anything. That's the beauty of this one. And the sand, it's easy to work with. But I'm just trying to get even amounts into these 5 spaces. Or close. They don't have to be exact. Very little sand. I don't think I have enough in that one. And you may want to put down a piece of parchment paper, wax paper, some kind of paper to do this on, because you're going to get sand on your mat or have a little vacuum. And then with your second color, you're just going to kind of follow the trail. You don't need a whole lot of sand for this. The more you put, the more it's going to fill up. So depending on how far you want yours to fill up, if you want it to come down further here, then don't put as much sand. And I think I just put a little touch more in there. And now I have the sand in there. I have just a little paintbrush, and I'm just going to go through and make sure that I don't have any sand up on the foam. Just going to push it out of the way if I do. And here's the tricky part, guys. Let me refresh. I lost my picture. I think this is the new beta thing, something to do with the camera. It keeps doing that. If you refresh, if your screen goes black, just refresh or if it goes green. I have had it go green. Here is where I've just got a paintbrush. This is a kickstand brush so I can sit it down and not get glue or paint or whatever everywhere. They sell these, I think at Michael's and Hobby Lobby. And I'm just dipping it into my art glitter glue bottle. And I'm actually going to use my paintbrush. I tried putting a bead of glue on there, and that was a disaster because it squished through to the other side, and then of course, guess where it went? Into the pockets where the sand was going. And this only takes a minute, and I'm just painting some glue on it. Not a heavy coat. You don't want it to be squishy. And I might get quiet while I try to go through here and not get it in the sand. But you want to cover all the way up to the edges of these bins so that sand can't leak out. And I'm standing in my own light. Let's see. And I am putting it down just a little bit heavier than I normally would because I don't want it to dry here while I'm doing the glue on the rest of the card. Is everybody following so far? Oops. If you get a little sand in it, just wipe it off. And I just put it on heavy there where it picked up that sand and then wiped it back off. And it comes off pretty easy that way. I've got my baby wipe to wipe it off with too. And like I said, I used the Xyron and did this. I did several different things. And this method worked best. You can do it other ways. You can experiment. I'm just going to go around this little corner here. I'm going to dry it a little bit. All right, and then once you've done that, then you want to take your backing piece and place it on as squarely as you can possibly get it and press down. Whatever you do, resist the urge to flip this over right now. Just don't do it. Correct, Sue. There was no adhesive on the other side of the foam, and that's so I could control putting the sand in, and if it bounced, I could get it out of the way. I could brush it, get it out of there where it wasn't stuck, because I have tried it, like I said, with double-sided. I ran it through the Creative Station Xyron, and then peeled it, left the paper on it, and put my beads in there. When I went to peel it, guess what happened to the beads and the sand? It started popping and going everywhere, sticking to it. So I said, okay, well, I'll peel it first. So I peeled it and then put my medium in, and when I put the medium in, it would bounce when it hit the, and static electricity, when it hit the transparency, and the same issue. So I did it this way and it worked. Now you can flip it over and it's working perfectly fine and nothing is sticking anywhere. So, I mean, you can, like I said, experiment, do it your own way. There's more than one way to do anything. If you find a better way, please share it with us. But that is the quickest and easiest way I found for it to work. And now I'm just going on the back. Well, actually, you want to make sure that you don't need to trim anything. If you do, trim it now. I still have that one place that's aggravating me, but I'll take the X-Acto knife to it later. But I'm just going to run a bead of glue all around the back and down the middle. And then this is the panel, your next size panel. And all I did was flip it the other way, opposite of my card front. Center it up. I hate to cover these flowers up. They're so pretty. That looks like I'm putting a lot of glue, guys, but I'm not. It's just very minimal. Just a teeny tiny bit. Can't hardly even see it. And then we're going to place it. Make sure your flowers are going the same direction. Place that panel. I almost put this darker pink panel in there, but then, because I liked it, but then I had already made this piece, and I didn't have time to redo it, so. And I did this in gold glitter gel pen from Cricut, because I wanted it to be subtle. I didn't want it to take away from the card mechanism. Just kind of line it up. Stick that down to the center. You don't even need a sentiment on these cards because the front kind of speaks for itself. And then we're just going to put it on the card base. There you go, guys. So it really didn't take that long to put it together. Most of it was just trial and error of getting things to work. So, any questions? Did anybody have any questions about it? Oh, thanks, guys. And you can, all you Patreons can find the file in the Patreon group and in the Patreon design files over on the site. If you're not a Patreon and you want a copy of this file, guys, you can join for as little as $1 a month and you can cancel anytime. Just helps support me and helps me buy the supplies to bring you guys cards like this. Because it does, it adds up. I spent 4 days and I don't know how many pieces of paper to come up with the design. So every little bit helps. And I appreciate it very, very, very much. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, the next file coming is, thanks, Kathy, I appreciate it. The next card coming is the maze card. I know that Neat and Tangled, and I believe My Favorite Things have some dies that do a maze. But let me just go over and show it to you guys. I came up with a card so that you guys could do it. Yes, this card it's durable. I mean, if they bust it open, Linda, it's just sand. Kids go out and play in the sand and the dirt all the time. It's nothing in there that's going to hurt them if they do tear it up. But it's pretty durable. I mean, I wouldn't give it to a 2-year-old that might stick it in their mouth. But 3 or 4 years old that would want to just sit and play with it and look at it, I don't see why you couldn't give it to them. It's just paper and sand. A little bit of foam. I know that when we were kids, we ate worse than that. So, but let me go over and show you guys the next project coming. I have not tested this file. Bonnie and I are working on it, but we didn't. Yeah, right, tasty foam. Bonnie and I haven't quite worked it out yet. She's, I think, working on the circle. I'm working on the heart. Is that right, Bonnie? Is that what we decided? I don't even remember. It got so close to time. But I think Bonnie's going to work on the circle one, and I'm going to work on the heart one. You're working on it? Okay. And just to make sure that the file doesn't need any adjustments. If it does, we will adjust them. Let me show you those files. Let's see. If you go to my website, and you go to the design files, of course you have to be a Patreon member to access this. If you look right here, I've put all your files on the left and SVG files that are exclusive to you guys on the right. And SVGs that are open to the public are here. This is for $5 or more Patreons, and this is for all Patreons. But you will need, this right here is the maze base. I don't know what that's about with the colors, but don't worry about the colors. But here is the one for the circle, and here is the one for the heart. But the maze is not there, and I wanted it to be where it was easy for everybody. But I did the maze in SCal, so I wasn't able to upload it into here. I could on mine, but then I couldn't share it. So I made a file for the bases for you guys. And then right here is the file for the mazes, and you can download it and then come into Design Space and upload the image. I'm just going to, if it will open, there we go. And drag it in. And then once you've gotten that, you can save it, tag it, whatever you need to do. And then you can upload the image. I guess I could have clicked on it. Click on the image and insert it. I'm not going to save it into this because it's a live file, but you'll need to duplicate these 3 or 4 times or try to cut it out of foam. I would not attempt to cut this out of foam. You may have to size it a little bit, but like I said, I am working on the file to see what I need to do, if I need to take this down, if I need to bring it up, but that's the next file coming. Yes, so now these are set to where you can put like the letter U or a C on the outside of these to catch the ball. Like if you're going to put a sentiment that says you and then me down here, and you want an entry and an exit point, then you can put a little C where they can see the little bead or the ball, whatever you put in there, come out on that side. If not, then of course you're just going to put your little piece of foam or your cardstock in there to stop the ball from coming out. So, but this is what we're working on. Like I said, you may see it in there, but guys, it is not yet finished. I just went ahead and uploaded it so that Bonnie could have access to help me make sure that we didn't need to make any changes to the files. So just in case you see that in there and something's not working for you, give us a couple of days to get it tested. And then once we post a photo of something like this or a mock-up, then it's ready. Okay, guys, I appreciate you guys joining me, and I hope you enjoyed the tutorial on putting that together. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. You can come to the groups and ask and everything, or you can come into the Patreon. If you're not a Patreon member, support me on Patreon. If you don't want to do that and you just want to recreate your own file, if you get stuck or you're having trouble, let us know. I'll help you create your own file. I don't mind helping you and answering your questions while you do it. Oh, you're welcome, Bunny. You guys have a wonderful night. And I did post some links for the mystery box. It's back in stock again, but you have to use that link. It's kind of like a backdoor. The regular link doesn't work. If you go to Cricut.com, you may not see it without that link. So if you didn't get one and you're looking for one, if it's still in stock, they're going to go fast again. So I guess they're just putting them up for people who missed it, and as they put them back in stock, then a few are becoming available for those who had duplicate orders. So keep checking. You guys have a wonderful night. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you guys Wednesday. Linda, yeah. Linda, if you're in the groups, go and look at the one where I said it's back, the latest one, the one I posted maybe an hour ago. Click on that link and see if it shows. If you don't see the white box, or if it says sold out, or you don't see that white box, then it's probably not there. Oh, okay, you did. Just keep checking with me, Linda. I'll tag you on the next one if they put more up again. I will tag you so that you'll know and you can click on it. All right. You guys have a wonderful night. I'll see you on Wednesday.